You mentioned Brady Cook's stat line. He becomes one of 3 quarterbacks, the other quarterback being Chase Daniel and the other one being Drew Lock, as the only Mizzou quarterbacks with 20 career games of 200-plus passing yards.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy to think about.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello and welcome into Mizzou, That's Who, your podcast from Missouri Athletics here at KC Sports Network. I'm Tucker Franklin, joined as always by Maggie Johnson. We are back after a Missouri Tigers season opening win. Maggie, how are you?
I'm doing great. I went to the game, obviously, and then I hopped on a plane at 8 a.m. So I'm actually podcasting to you live from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. But, you know, there ain't no rest for the wicked, so we're getting it done no matter where we are.
Yeah, we are. A lot better place than probably Kansas City, Missouri, where I am right now, where we're about to gear up for week 1 of the NFL season. Week 1 of college football is, as of the time we're recording this, not in the books yet. By the time you're hearing this, also not in the books because they have the Monday game that they're playing on to be with Labor Day weekend. So, week 1 of college football. Very excited for football to be back in general. Some good games on yesterday, some upsets, and some games that we talked about kind of before we started recording the Notre Dame A&M game. Maggie, I don't know. Look, I watched that Notre Dame team or that Texas A&M team. I was thinking Connor Wegman made me feel pretty okay with Mizzou going there at an 11 a.m. kickoff game, the way that he played. I know Notre Dame's defense is pretty good, but made me feel a little bit better about going to Texas A&M. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I only really caught the end of that game, but St. Louis's own Jeremiah Love had the winning touchdown for Notre Dame. So you love and you hate to see it. I can't decide. Because he was a CBC kid, and what we always say about CBC is that they don't go to Mizzou. But, in terms of local products, you like to see it, and you also like to see them bully A&M a little bit because, like you said, we go there soon. Totally agree. I talked to an A&M guy after the game, and he was like, I may have been wrong about Connor Wegman. He might not be, it or the man for them. So, yeah. I don't know. We still have a little over a month until that game, so they could work out a lot of kinks. So.
They could, absolutely. But there were just some things that, his reads, some of the throws he made, the 2 interceptions he had, he overthrew wide receivers into other guys to the defense. So obviously we'll talk about that as the time comes, because that'll be Missouri's first true test on their schedule as they took care of business against Murray State, 51-0, put up a 50 burger, and starters were out in the second half. They did the first drive of the second half, which I thought made sense. You want to get them to have halftime adjustments to get that feeling. And then I would have really liked the deep ball to connect on that drive out of half. Yeah, but they didn't. They get it done. I think they drove down for a field goal. Can't remember off the top of my head. I'll look it back up. I think it was a field goal. And then it was second string the rest of the way. Now, Maggie, you and I kind of talked about in one of our podcasts that we've done where Murray State, not an FCS powerhouse. They are not a very good FCS team. Granted, they are better than Lindenwood, but they are not an FCS power. They've been up at the FCS ranks for a while. Overall, Maggie, I guess just to start with the atmosphere there, because we saw Eli Drinkwitz challenge Missouri fans getting to the game and getting there, and it looked really good on TV. I couldn't make it to the game, doing post game and everything like that. So, and it's a Thursday. So I understand why people can't go to the game. I totally get it. How was the atmosphere there?
I thought the atmosphere was great. I was very proud of the students. The students got there, filled up their section, bright gold. It was amazing. The Hill was packed. And I know people were when Drink came out and said that stuff about attendance, and then I was like, oh no, because the Hill's going to be empty. The Hill was not empty. The Hill, the videos I have, it's just completely packed everywhere. The only place that wasn't packed was the Murray State section. I know some people were like, oh, now paying over to the other end of the field. And I'm like, that was the Murray State section. So, no, I thought the crowd in Columbia was great. I know a lot of people that came in from St. Louis, Kansas City, Southern Missouri, Illinois, from everywhere. So just to see people buy into what Drink was saying, I thought was really cool.
It is. And I know that was part of the problem with the attendance was Murray State didn't sell a lot of their allotment. And, like, so those tickets got bounced back to Mizzou. And I think that was, like, why they had so many tickets left, why Mizzou had so many tickets left, was because of that. And look, I don't blame anyone for Murray State not wanting to go to a game. Like, I saw, they kept showing this guy on TV. He was, like, wearing a luchador mask and, like, a Murray State shirt. And maybe he was a part of, like, the Murray State band. It looked like some band members traveled, but I don't think they brought their band, which was interesting. The band was like, oh, yeah, I still want to go. But, like, I don't blame anyone who's a Murray State fan for, like, yeah, I don't want to take a bus from Murray, Kentucky all the way to Kansas City or to Columbia.
On a Thursday night. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. Well, first off, when Drink made his statement, I think there was only like 800 tickets left. So it wasn't like there was a ton left. But no, I don't blame people at all. I left like a little bit early because I had a flight and I was like, hopefully Mizzou can put us in that position where I can do that. Yeah. Because early in the games last year, I mean, South Dakota, I guess, we won 35-10. So whatever. But the other two games, you know, they were kind of like, they're kind of nail biters. So no, I was very happy. We just went there, handled business. The crowd was great. The drone show, though, let me just say, if we could do that every game, that's how you're going to keep butts in the seats ever. Maybe they should do it like in the third or something so that people stay. But it was awesome. You got Truman, you got the Tiger Prince, you got the MIZZOU. I mean, it was so cool. I want a drone show every game, 100%. I know they won't do that, but if they're listening, they should.
Yeah. I've only been to one drone show, and it was at a Royals game. So they did it for the 4th of July, where they did a they did a drone show and a fireworks show, like at the same time. Kind of nuts. There's a lot going on in the air at that point, but they're not super cool. And it was really cool, like during the time, because it does take a little bit for like the drones to like realign, right, to make their new things, and to like have just like fireworks going off in the middle of it. That was pretty cool. But yeah, drone shows are incredible.
And it was with the band too, so the band's playing, and then you got that. So I mean, I didn't look at the band that much. Sorry, March Mizzou, but at all the crowd, everyone's standing up, taking photos. I mean, yeah, like I said, you want to put butts in the seat, just keep doing drone shows. That's
how you do it. Let's get to the game here. I mean, there's, again, not a ton to talk about. The post-game show that I did, sitting here staring at my computer at about pretty close to midnight when I started the post-game show, wasn't very long just because there's not a ton to take away from this game, right? As I mentioned, FCS opponent, I believe now Missouri is like 28-0, maybe? Let me double-check that stat. Maybe 22-0 against FCS opponents all time. They've never lost. 22-0 all time after tonight's game against the Murray State Racers. And Maggie, I read this note off to you from the Mizzou Athletic Department before. The contest on Thursday was the earliest start to a season in the 134-year history of the Missouri football program, and the 9th game the Tigers played in August, moving to 7-2 all time. I thought that was a pretty interesting stat, especially now these recent years as they've moved to these Thursday night Labor Day weekend games. Makes sense why it gets early, just because that's kind of how calendars work and everything like that, with Labor Day weekend getting bumped up.
And we're a lake state. I mean, they understand their audience and they know people are going to go to the Lake of the Ozarks and maybe not drive up for that game.
Right.
I honestly don't mind it. I know a lot of people are like, move the game, but it allowed me to be where I'm at right now, and I'm looking at palm trees and the ocean outside of my window facing. So, I mean, I don't mind the game being early. Last year I went to Houston, so if they want to put it on Thursdays, there's just no reason people shouldn't be able to fill a 62,000 people stadium with Como and all of that. So if they want to put it on Thursday, they can keep doing it. I'm not going to complain.
The sellout, as you mentioned, 62,621 was the 6th largest crowd for a home opener in Faurot Field history. The Tigers' largest such crowd since September 5th of 2015 versus SEMO. And when they placed them, 64,670 is what they had for that game. Also, should note here, Boston College did get sold out too. So they're going to continue their sellout streak. So Boston College becomes the next game that the Missouri Tigers.
Is Buffalo sold out yet?
Let me double check that. I think it is, because the email that I got was like, we continue the streak. So Buffalo must have already been sold out, which I was unaware of. Oh, hang on. Here we go. a live read of the Missouri Tigers website. A football game versus Boston College becomes season's 4th sellout. So I guess I didn't say.
Okay. Well, game's at 6 p.m. next week, so buy your tickets if you're listening to this. Lots will open earlier than 3 p.m. as it didn't open until 3 p.m. on Thursday. But I went over and got a Trops. I just waited.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did that cramp your style at all that it was at 3 p.m. the lots open?
I think the most annoying part of that to me was that the University of Illinois played on Thursday and their lots opened at 7 a.m. So I'm kind of like, what is why can't we do it if they, I know 7's a little aggressive, that's aggressive. But I mean, why can't we open at noon or something like that if other schools are doing it? I know they tailgate more in grass than we do. Like we tailgate in lots, but yeah, that was the only thing. But there's stuff to do in Como. I mean, everything's downtown. You're so close. So yeah, we just went and grabbed ourselves a nice little Traps and then went to our lot.
It's perfect. Reading more into this article is what you should do before you just assume while reading headlines. Buffalo, Vandy, and Arkansas are the only games that have single tickets left.
We'll get by Arkansas. I think we'll get there.
Yeah, as of now, single game tickets for Auburn and those are sold out. Why would they word it like that? Yeah, so it's Vanderbilt and Arkansas and Buffalo. So there's 3 games that aren't sellouts, and I think that Buffalo could be the trickiest one out of those 2. I think Vandy and Arkansas will be sellouts. Arkansas winning by 70 points is also insane. Arkansas and Pine Bluff really must stink. They agreed to play 10-minute quarters too. I don't know if you saw that. In the second half, they're just like, yeah, let's just get out of here.
Let's just get out, take our money and get home. No, I saw that, and then I saw Ole Miss, I think, won by 72.
Yeah, they tried to score 100, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they typically do. They're kind of Lane likes to run that score up. I think they did it to who they played. They played Furman. I think they played Mercer last year, and Mercer scored like the first touchdown and then never scored again, and Ole Miss just scored like 70 straight. So Ole Miss, they're a little bit, Lane's a little bit different than Drake. Yeah. They're both wild, but
yeah, they wanted to run the score up. But let's get into a little bit of the Murray State game. I was really impressed with how fast that they came out and played. 21 points in the first 5 minutes and 19 seconds of the game, marking the fastest the Tigers have ever scored. 21 points to open a contest. Really impressive, just kind of blitz right there. Obviously, it helps when you have the opposing coach do a surprise onside kick that they don't get, and then they go for it on 4th and 1 and then don't get it. So you have prime field position those 2 times, and then a pick 6, obviously. From Toriano Pride. Really cool to see him get that pick 6 there as kind of a homecoming for him, a little bit in some regards for his first game back in Columbia. Thoughts on just the Tigers' fast start, Maggie?
I also took notes on that onside kick because I was like, we did that against Memphis last year, you remember? And then we were offsides. They were not offsides. So if they would have gotten it, it would have held. But no, I thought that was actually great for us because it allowed that Brady and Mizzou to kind of, spread their wings a little bit and get in there and hit them fast. And it was awesome. Also, you were right. You made the call. First score, Luther Burden, shaking the defender, running.
Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to go with. I did change it to Brady Cook. That was Rucker. Rucker had.
Oh, okay.
I also said I think Luther Burden's going to score, but I'm going to say.
Okay,
that's Cook on the scramble. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to go with. But yeah, no, Luther Burden looked mighty good. Yeah, on Thursday.
Basically, all the wide receivers did. I mean, obviously Brady overthrew. I think maybe 4 balls or so. But we work it out. That's what practice is for. Yeah, you don't like to see it. Right. I think some fans were a little frustrated, but Brady didn't play that well in the first few games last season either, so I think we can get there. But the wide receivers made him look good. I think they had 300 yards of receiving yards, and 203 of those yards were after the catch, which I think is insane. I mean, you had Mookie had a great 49-yard reception.
Yeah.
The underrated moment for me with the receivers though was actually how well Luther blocked. And I mean, they weren't like huge blocks, like he wasn't tackling guys most of the time, but that on that that 3rd and 4 pass to Mookie for 49 yards. He kind of just stepped in there, blocked a defender that was getting pretty close to him. I thought that was awesome. He had another great block in the first half on a quarterback keeper. Well, he's kind of scrambling a little bit, but had a great block on there too. So I thought he did great blocking as well as his catch and runs.
I think that is he plays a lot out of the slot, and truthfully, he's a big body for the slot. And I think that what he does a really good job, and I think that's great that you brought that up, is like his blocking ability is very underrated. I think a lot of people will look at the best wide receivers in this draft. McMillan, one of them with Arizona, he had a really good game on Saturday.
He went off.
Yeah,
304 yards.
Right. And the same thing with like Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter played like 100% of the snaps. And I was talking with Matt Miller about this, just about, the Heisman race and everything like that. Because he texted me once Luther scored. He's like, "That's one. You got to keep the tally. Got to keep it going. If we can get a couple more touchdowns for him to start the Heisman campaign, that'd be great." But what benefited from like Arizona and maybe not Arizona as much as it did for Colorado is like they were in a rock fight. Like they had to play their starters the whole time. We knew going into that game that starters were probably only going to play a half. And like Luther had to put up good number, like a game's worth of numbers in a half, which I mean, he had a good game. Like, don't get me wrong. Like he didn't have the same numbers that like these other wide receivers had because they played the whole game. And like, that's what happens when you play the level of competition. I'd much rather him be healthy than especially he struggled with an injury down the stretch last year. Still played, but still had an injury and everything like that, which we'll get to injuries a little bit. I think they got out relatively fine. Haven't heard any update on like Brett Norfleet, but it didn't look great because they were like holding his arm as he was going into the locker room. And I heard Theo Weiss was just precautionary, just like, "Hey, let's just hold you out because you know what, we don't need you hurting yourself against Murray State," which makes sense. But let's talk about Brady Cook a little bit because I felt myself get a little frustrated sometimes. There were some routes that he just wasn't. The timing was off, is what it was. The timing was off on the deep balls. Maybe there was a step or two. He was overthrowing them, and they were overthrown and underthrown, which I thought was interesting. And then there's a couple like out routes. Yeah, it's a better way. And there's a couple like out routes and short routes. It seemed like the timing was just like a little bit off with. And he made an interesting note in the post game interview with I think it was with Harry Lyles after the game, where he said like, "I've got to get used to game speed with these guys," which is very different. Like practice speed and game speed, like you want those to be the same, but it's hard to replicate like the game obviously in practice. And I thought that was interesting because there's a lot of returning guys when it comes to those wide receiver room and him. So you think that they'd have that game speed down. It has been a minute since I've stepped on a football field, right? So that could just be a part of it. It did look like they were timing issues, nothing that wasn't fixable, I should say. It looked like everything was very fixable from like the Brady Cook perspective, but there were a couple drives where I was like, man, it's like timing's just a little bit off. And like this game could have been in the 70s probably. If they connect on like one or two of those deep balls that they tried to chuck up there, and we'll talk about the trick play maybe here in a little bit, which might have been a pass. I think Brady went to pass it, and Luther didn't think he was going to pass it, and then that's kind of what all happened. But I do think that there's just a few timing things that I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I don't think I'm too worried about it, truthfully, because of how good the running game looked. But there's a couple of things there that I just think that need to be cleaned up, and that's what you use these games for.
Yeah, honestly, his reads on those long balls, they weren't bad at all. Those were great reads. Yeah, the timing was just a little bit off. And when we say a little bit, I mean a step or two. Like, barely anything. I think overall he did a good job controlling the game. It was just those little things. He went 19 for 30, 216 yards and a touchdown. He also had a rushing touchdown, which we talked about earlier with that Luther block. I think he did fine, except for those few overthrown balls, which, like Drink also said in his post-game press conference, that's practice. And I think they'll get there.
Yeah, it's not a holistic worry that I have because it is a very fixable thing. You mentioned Brady Cook's stat line. He becomes one of three quarterbacks, the other quarterback being Chase Daniel and the other one being Drew Lock, as the only Mizzou quarterbacks with 20 career games of 200-plus passing yards.
Wow.
That's kind of crazy to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you think of Chase Daniel as like the main, I mean, Brad Smith too, but Brad Smith was such a good rushing quarterback. He could do everything. Yeah. And then you think of how well Drew Lock played. He was like holding SEC records at the time for passing touchdowns whenever he was at Mizzou. And then there were so many questions with Brady Cook leading up into last year and what he could do. So it's actually really cool to see him high up on that list because I think he has a lot of hate. I think he silenced some of the haters a little bit, but he definitely still has. I mean, I heard some chirping in the audience.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, that's just going to come with fandom. Right. But I think he's really stepped up his game from ever since he had that surgery after his injury. And like we said, just fine-tune some of those things. You've got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. You're going to have a good season. Just pull it together in those practices.
Yeah, I agree.
But Drew Pine looked good.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Drew Pine. I was really impressed with him because, in the times that I have seen Drew Pine play football before, he had not looked that good. But I was very impressed with how he played. Another note on Brady Cook, this is from, obviously, the Missouri Athletic Department here putting out their game notes. Brady Cook tied James Franklin for the third most career games with both a passing and a rushing touchdown with 12. He only trails Corby Jones and Brad Smith, who combined 14 such games. So very likely that he can do that this year and have the most games with a rushing and a passing touchdown because that's what he does. It seems like that happens a lot where he has a rushing and a passing touchdown. Wouldn't be surprised with that. But go back to Drew Pine. 10 of 11, 82 yards, debut game for the Missouri Tigers. Very impressive, very efficient, very good reads, good decisions. He had that one scramble. I thought he was going to get in, and his legs, he was moving real fast, but his body was not moving very fast. Like his leg, I was watching, he's moving his arms and legs really fast, but he was not making up very much ground. I thought that was kind of funny, but other than that, I was really impressed with. It made me feel a little bit better about the backup quarterback situation. Now, I don't know what the word is. I don't feel like totally confident if Brady Cook is to miss an extended amount of time for Drew Pine to come in just because of, what we've seen in the past. But what we saw against Murray State was encouraging.
Agree. And I think because of how well, he played well, Brady was upright. He had a clean uniform. So got to kind of thank the offensive line for taking care of their guys this game, to be honest.
Yep.
The only thing I struggled with and that we've struggled with for a year are the penalties.
Mm-hmm.
Mizzou had 9 penalties on the night. 6 were on the offensive line. Caden Green had 2 holds. Logan Reichert had 2 false starts, which you really have to clean up before you go to Texas A&M or go anywhere on the road. You've got to clean that up. But in terms of taking care of their quarterback and making sure he wasn't on his back all night, I thought the offensive line did great.
Yeah, no, I thought so too. I thought they looked good. They made a lot of big holes too for the rushing attack as well. I thought the running backs were really impressive just with, this running back room was really deep. And that was one of the notes that I made in the postgame podcast. Is it felt like it was so deep. Looking here, like Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, they both get touchdowns. Noel had 68 all-purpose yards, 48 rushing on 11 attempts. Jamal Roberts got his first career touchdown midway through the third quarter. And there was 4 Tigers with rushing touchdowns. Brady Cook obviously included, but Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, Jamal Roberts. We got to see Kawan Lacey too. Like I thought he looked really good with the football in his hands and kind of making some stuff happen. He did fumble it on his first time and he fell right on top of it. But then you could see Coach Looper over there just saying hey, be careful now. That they're gonna be going for it. You got to take care of the football. Could have been a lot worse, but he looked really dynamic. There's some guys that just move different, and he was one of them. I was like, oh, he's moving a little bit different as a freshman, as a true freshman. That is a very good thing to know.
And he averaged 8.4 yards per carry, which, I mean, I know they were playing an FCS team. I understand that, but anytime you have a running back doing something like that, it's great. I thought, like you said, Nate Noel, Marcus Carroll, both played great. And I know we had kind of heard that Nate Noel was going to be that number 1 guy, and he did get the most carries. But Marcus Carroll looked good too. Mm-hmm. I mean, they both. If there's any questions about the running back room at all, I wouldn't worry about them. No matter who, who were playing, I think they both looked, as long as the offensive line keeps making those holes, like you said, I think we've got some athletes in that room.
You mentioned the offensive line and the penalties. I do think that it is encouraging that only two of them were against like the starting offensive line, right? They were both the holds against Caden Green, which I thought they were a little ticky-tacky. Both of those holds were, but I was like, all right, like technically, yes, that's a hold. Does that hold get called all the time? No, but technically that is a hold type of deal. Like you can call a hold on every play, right? And just you got to be smart about when to release. And I guess there was one time where he didn't release soon enough, but I didn't think it would, like the penalties, like the second team offensive line, you kind of anticipate some penalties out there, truthfully, with them, especially false starts, as you mentioned with Logan Riker, like decided to get out there and everything like that. So that's not too big of a deal. A couple things on the defensive side of the ball before we take a break and then shift our focus to Buffalo. 85 yards of total offense that they allowed. Really impressive. I know, look, we're going to stress that they did not play a good football team, but allowing a team to just have 85 yards of offense, no matter who you're playing, is very impressive. I thought that was
1.7 yards per play.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, and I remember looking up at the scoreboard maybe around halftime and seeing how few yards they had. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was like, dang. Like, I knew that obviously they had a nothing burger up on the score at this point.
Yeah.
But looking back, like in retrospect, I'm like 1.7 yards per play. I mean, the defensive line, linebackers, they played great. And I know people were questioning most of our defense, but I thought like Chris McClellan played great. Who is the one that did that caused Toriano Pride's pick six? That was
Khalil Jacobs, maybe?
No, it wasn't. It was... Or wait, was it? I can't remember who it was. Whatever. I thought everybody on the D-line looked great.
Yeah,
and really, it was the D-line that caused Toriano to be able to get over there and get that pick six because he put so much pressure on the quarterback, beat his guy, put so much pressure on the quarterback. No, I just thought everybody looked great. And like you said, and we've talked about, it is an FCS school. It's just so hard to take away anything from these games.
Right.
Because I don't know how good Murray State's going to be in whatever FCS conference that they play in.
Right.
But anytime you put up 51 points and hold them to 0, you had a good day.
Right, yeah. 85 total yards on a day was the first time that Missouri held an opponent under that mark since September 14th, 2019. Southeast Missouri is 94, so that's the lowest that they've been able to hold. Only 27 passing yards too. 27 passing yards. The last time Mizzou held an opponent to less than 50 passing yards was against Western Illinois in 2011, and Western Illinois had 20 passing yards. So 27 passing yards is insane. You mentioned defensive backs look good, linebackers look good, defensive line really impressed with Chris McClellan. It's a big man. That is a big dude. Yeah, so there was a series there. I can't remember what quarter it was. There was a series where he had a pass deflection, and then the next play he got a sack for them to force like a fourth down. And he got the pass deflection, and he did the seatbelt celebration when he swatted it. He's like, no, incomplete. That's me. I got it strapped up. And I thought that was hilarious to see a big old defensive tackle do the strap up celebration. And I'm really excited about him and that defensive line. I do think they're actually really deep there.
It was Zion Young, by the way, that did that.
Yeah.
He was like, who's number 9? Why can I not think of who number 9 is? But yeah, I thought everybody looked great. Marquise Gracial also played very, very well. Murray State's offense never crossed our 47-yard line.
It's incredible.
Ever. I mean, you couldn't even let their special teams get out there and, try for a field goal. They just were never close enough. So, yeah, props to quarterbacks, safeties, everybody, because everybody on the defense played great. And props to Corey Batoon, because I think it's his first game out there, and there could have been so many mistakes, and there really weren't that many.
Right. It was good. Couple special teams notes before we take a break here. Blake Craig 3 for 3 on 6 of 6 of PAT attempts.
Harrison Mevis was there, by the way.
Really? I didn't see that.
And Rakestraw was too. They put him on the big screen. Like I had him. I don't remember when it was. Like between the quarters. I think around like the third quarter. So you got to see Harrison Mevis, just not in his thicker kicker gear. But I thought Blake Craig did great.
And he got cut from Carolina, sadly. Speaking of Harrison Mevis, Blake Craig is the first kicker to attempt a field goal for the University of Missouri since not named Harrison Mevis since 2019. That is
2019. Were you still in school in 2019?
2019, yeah, I actually graduated college in 2019. So
yeah, Harrison Mevis is the only kicker that's kicked until
that's great. Tucker McCann was the other one, by the way, who was the last kicker before that. But that's crazy. Luke Bauer also had a really good day punting the football, 2 punts, averaging 48.5 yards, dropping 1 inside the 20-yard line. Got to give the special teams guys their props there as well. That's really it from the game, I think, as we're going to move forward to Buffalo. Let's take a break real quick. First, I got to tell you guys about Home Field Apparel. I've decided I'm rocking the hoodie on this podcast till Missouri loses. That's what I've decided. I'm wearing the hoodie until Missouri loses a football game. So every single podcast you see, I'm going to be wearing this Home Field Apparel hoodie because it is the softest. It is the most comfortable hoodie that I own. And it looks damn good, too. Martin Rucker, we popped on the podcast. He's like, I really like that hoodie. I was like, I'll send you the link. I know exactly how you can get it. Because he really... Yeah, for 15% off, to use code Mizzou24 at checkout for your first order. Go check them out there. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back looking at Buffalo, looking ahead to the Missouri Tigers next game. See you on the other side.
We appreciate you supporting KC Sports Network by listening to our podcast. You have helped us become the highest-ranked Chiefs podcast network in 2022 and 2023. And don't forget about our daily Substack newsletter, the best written analysis you can find on the Chiefs straight to your inbox every day. kcsn.substack.com.
With big wireless providers, what you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again. When Mint Mobile says $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say bye-bye to overpriced wireless plans, jaw-dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at just $15 a month. Worried about losing your phone? You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts. You can ditch the overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/KCSNMTW. That's mintmobile.com/KCSNMTW. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with mintmobile.com/KCSNMTW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Now, I know a lot of people might not know a lot about Buffalo Bulls. I don't really know a whole lot about Buffalo Bulls either, to be straight up honest with you. Hand up here as we get into this here. We're going to encroach on the territory of where we don't know a whole lot about any teams. Buffalo did win their first game of the season against the Lafayette Leopards. That is an FCS school. And they won 30-13. Yeah.
The Lafayette Leopards?
Yep.
I didn't even know that was their mascot.
Yeah, I think they're more of a basketball school.
Wow.
And yeah. So look, the MAC team's got to have cupcake games too. So, because the MAC team's usually cupcakes for teams, but the MAC team's got to have cupcake teams too. I forgot that was their quarterback. CJ Ogbanana is the quarterback for the Buffalo Bulls. 14 of 24, 195 passing yards with 2 tutties in their 30-13 winning effort over the Leopards. Again,
they ran the ball a lot in that game.
Yeah, it looks like
2 running backs, each with 15 carries. Oh, I'm not sure if they don't really trust their quarterback that much, but they were definitely trying to run the ball. And I'm not going to lie, Buffalo, it's their first season, or their coach's first season, and they played a team that was predicted to win their conference.
Yeah.
And their quarterback, or maybe their wide receiver, somebody on their team was predicted to be their Patriot League Offensive Player of the Year. So they didn't play, like, in terms of Buffalo, that big of a cupcake.
Right.
So it's kind of impressive that they even came out with a new coach, a bunch of new players, and really put that win together. Their
coach last year is now at Alabama, I believe. He's like a linebackers coach there, maybe. He's a position coach, I think, at Alabama. CJ Agbanana, by the way, if you are thinking, man, that name really sounds familiar, how could I know? He played at SEMO last year. So he was SEMO's quarterback in 20. What year would that have been? 23? Yeah. So he is also a communications major. I always love it when you can like go to their bios and they're like, yeah, he's majoring in this. His parents also do this.
In case you were wondering, he's in the communications.
He's a communications major. So I do think that obviously this is going to be another situation where, I would love if Luther Burden and Brady Cook and all these starters only play at half. Like, I'd love that. 3 quarters, I think realistically is like, all right, let's 3 quarters, get some good work in. And I wouldn't be upset if they play 3 quarters, right? But I think that they should take care of business in this game. As you mentioned, they are dealing with a lot of turnover. Buffalo hasn't been good since like Lance Leipold left. Like, that was the last time they were good. They just haven't been able to, number one, keep a coach, number 2, recruit the same level of talent that Leipold was able to recruit to Buffalo. And they're not like, I don't think that they are projected high to finish in the MAC either. Like, I don't think that they are really a good MAC team. Like, look, you saw Miami of Ohio, who won the MAC last year, go to Northwestern and give them a rock fight. I don't think that'll happen with Buffalo. I don't think it'll be a rock fight here. Missouri should be able to take care of business, especially against a team like that. But a lot of the time here, we were talking about Murray State and everything like that. It's like, what do you want to see Missouri do more than like the opponent? It's more about Missouri. This game is more about Missouri than it is about their opponent that they have here. I just want to see that timing. I want to see a little bit more timing on the deep balls, some of the other routes. I just want to see that stuff get itself worked out, and I think I will feel a whole lot better going into the third game of the season.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think this is a great practice opportunity for Brady to get in-game practice opportunity for Brady to work on that timing, work on those passes, for the offensive line to, work on not getting those penalties. I think that's what they're going to really use this game for. And I think, honestly, the defensive line is going to have the biggest challenge, because if they're rushing the ball, if Buffalo's rushing the ball as much as they did last week, I think they're just going to get to work on, stopping that attack and getting prepared for those better teams that we're going to be playing. Because Boston College is not going to be, it's not going to be a cakewalk. They have some athletes on that team. So just getting everything kind of worked out before we have an ACC opponent, I think is going to be really big. And it's going to be telling what they can do in this game.
I think we had this conversation. I think Boston College is better than Vandy. And even with Vandy beating, albeit Virginia Tech, not necessarily a powerhouse, they got a really cool entrance, but they didn't play very well. And look, you don't just go into Vanderbilt's unfinished house and just walk all over.
Unfinished house.
You just can't do
it. When are they going to finish that thing?
I don't think it's till like next year. At least have a scoreboard up this on pain cranks like it was. Yeah. I remember I heard from people who like went to that game last year, and they were like, it was a nightmare to go to that. You had to like enter through the baseball field and then cut through like the field itself to then get to the away side. And weren't they like changing in trailers? Like the visitor locker room was just like trailers, like insane.
But last year, remember, they didn't even start doing the work until like August, and I was like, "Why?"
Yeah, that was
you've had since last December, because Vandy didn't make a bowl game that year.
Right.
So you've had since like last December to start working on this. You're in Nashville. You're not in Michigan. Like I get the ground might be kind of cool, but I don't even know what they're really digging around in. So yeah, there shouldn't be this much construction on. It shouldn't take them that long. It's not like they're doing an entire reno. They didn't demo everything like they're doing to Kansas's stadium.
Right. Like that makes sense that they're playing, which hilarious that they have to play in Missouri for their college football games, by the way.
Except they did play at Sporting KC. Yeah. I don't even know how many people that holds. Like, what, 20?
Not a lot. It does not hold a ton of people. I've been to several soccer games at that stadium, and a great soccer field, right? I think it's a great soccer field, but there's a reason that it's not a football stadium. Is that it is a soccer field.
Yeah, it's gonna go from one extreme of like teensy tiny to being in Arrowhead, which is massive, and seeing how many people they can get there because
it's not gonna be. Yeah. They should have played them all at Sporting. Truthfully, they really should have. When I was at Northwest Missouri State, they were pretty darn good at football. They were winning D2 national championships, and the D2 national championship was actually played at Sporting Park. So that's where the national championship was played. So they have experience doing like football games in there. That's before they moved it to McKinney, Texas, I believe. And they're like, we're going to play at a high school stadium instead. Yeah. Wild to think about that they're playing national championship for a Division II college at a high school stadium. That's just Texas for you. But back to Missouri and Buffalo, I guess. Unless you want us to talk about...
Unless you want us to talk about Kansas more. We can. This could be a Dog on Kansas podcast. I'm sure all of our listeners would love it.
Yeah, look, Missouri's going to beat Buffalo. There it is. Now we can dog on Kansas a little bit more. It is just really... The choices that they're making are very interesting. They did wear the powder blue kits, though. The little powder blue uniforms, which I hate that, like... I hate their logo. That big-ass Jayhawk beak one. That one's so dumb. People are, oh, it's so cool. No, it's not. The beak is
and those uniforms they're bad. They're not. I hate whenever I see like a top uniform list and it's like Kansas. I'm like, what are you talking about? Especially their red ones. Their red uniforms are.
When they go red, they wear too much red. Just like
it's like full bodied red. I'm like, what are we doing? But anyway, sorry about our rant on KU's uniforms.
Yeah, whatever. I was trying to find a little bit more on Buffalo, just because there's just not a whole lot about the school, the MAC, and everything like that. I was looking up like the MAC media day. And look, surprisingly, they don't have like a huge MAC media day that everyone goes to. I do think that this game, again, I want to see from the defense. I don't think they're going to allow only 85 yards, right? I think it'll be, maybe a more respectable football game in that regard, where both teams are able to gain some yardage. But again, it's one of those things where I want to see the defense get after it, cause some problems. Like you mentioned, the defensive line causing havoc, and in turn having the secondary benefit from it. Maybe on this game, I'd like to see the secondary kind of lock it down, and then in turn impact the defensive line for them to be able to get some coverage sacks, stuff like that. I do think the secondary looked really good. Like there was no missed beat in that game. I just want to see them basically continue. The whole game is just continuing what you did last week against Murray State.
Yeah, the secondary held Murray State to 4 of 15 on third downs, which is great because their whole point is to get themselves off the field and get the offense on the field so that they can score touchdowns. They did a great job, obviously, because we won 51-0. But yeah, you do want to see more of that. And I just loved how our transfers really stepped in. Corey Flagg played great. Obviously, Toriano Pride played great. On my flight over here, I actually got on like the shuttle at the airport, and two people in Toriano Pride uniforms or like jerseys were like on my shuttle, and I was like, "Oh, like were you at the game?" And they're like, "No, Toriano Pride's our cousin." And I was like, he played great. Like, what a game for him. And I guess he had like 40, 50 family members at the game, which is exactly what we're trying to do in getting those people home, because that's the whole point why they're transferring back to Missouri to play. It's the whole point Luther Burden picked to play at Mizzou. So, no, you love to see it. You love to see the home state guys succeed. And I agree. I would love to see, even more from the secondary. And I think we will, because Buffalo's better than Murray State.
They are.
It's going to be a bigger challenge. They won't be able to sleepwalk.
Right. Buffalo also, after this game, has UMass on the schedule. I just looked that up, and I think it's funny. UMass is going to join the MAC, right? So they basically have a MAC very heavy schedule. UMass does. As a guy who played with UMass in NCAA 25, I know UMass's schedule fairly well, because they're going to join the MAC. What is it, next year?
I think it was 2025.
Yeah. So they're joining it, and then Delaware's coming into the Sun Belt, I want to say, or something like that. Yeah, coming up from FCS into FBS. Looking up this line here real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah, I'm not making any more. I'm not giving any more betting advice because I told everybody not to take the
spread.
The spread. Yeah. And I hope you. I mean, you should never take betting advice from me, anyways, because what the hell do I know? But if you did, sorry. It was close, though.
It was very close.
Yeah, they had to kick. There was a sweat for a lot of people.
The TV broadcast showed a dude who was very hanging. Everything was hanging in the balance of them making that field goal, essentially. The TV broadcast did a very good job of being very well aware of what the spread was. I think it closed at 50.5 is what it closed at. When we recorded, I think it was still in the 40s. But I think it closed at 50.5. This game, Missouri is favored by 35.5. Look, I think they could do it. I don't think it's out of the question for them to do it.
No, I think they could cover that. I'm not going to tell you to go put money on it, but I definitely think that they can get that, cover that.
Win by 36 points. Yeah, I think that's a possibility. Absolutely. We'll see how that line goes and matures as it gets closer to kickoff time, as you mentioned. A night game.
Nice little 6. It's kind of nice too. It's at 6 p.m. because it puts you and you can get there earlier, so you can tailgate, you can get there, and you get home a little bit earlier if you're in St. Louis or Kansas City. So, yeah, it's not too bad. I will be there. I will be back in town, and again.
Crying doesn't stop for me.
No, I'm always crying. I'm always on the road. I'm not getting paid for it, but I'm always on the road.
Love to see it. All right, we'll be back next week with another podcast. We'll be doing a post-game show as well. I'll give you my instant reactions from that game. I'll hop on, sit right here in front of this computer. Obviously, you can text us at the KCSN hotline, presented by Mint Mobile. Appreciate our friends at Mint Mobile. You heard from them a little bit earlier. Thank you. Mint Mobile, 913-407-6524. It always takes me a second to remember it off the top of the dome.
But it's awesome that you do, because I don't. I have so many numbers in my head. I'm I have to remember all of my own personal numbers. And then I'm I don't remember a single cell phone number. I remember my friends' phone numbers from 4th grade. Mm-hmm. You had to call their house, and if you didn't have them, you were screwed.
Right.
But yeah, I have too many numbers to remember. But I'll write that Mint Mobile one down. Maybe I'll send in another show a message or something.
You should.
And
Send
Kansas a message.
Right. Talk shit to the K-State fan.
Right.
The K-State show. You guys suck. Avery Johnson barely threw a football very well. Because I know that's...
Yeah, you can message any show, by the way. You should message ask us questions, but you can message them too.
Let me double check the number, because I think I said 407. I think it might be 417. Look, you started talking about different numbers, and I was like, oh no, did I mess it up? 913.
That's probably your friend's number from 4th grade, like I said.
I was right. It was 407. I shouldn't look. The only time I'm wrong is when I second guess myself. So 913-407-6524. Text the KCSN Mint Mobile hotline. I will look, if you send us a text, you can just text it during the game. You're like, what the heck is Eli Drinkwitz doing here on this play call on 4th down? I'll read it on the show. I will read it on the show. I'm getting text right now to this hotline. Maybe people are hearing us record this right now. Wow, that's a really long text. Who just sent me? It's not about us. It's about Sporting Kansas City. That's okay. But look, we got you covered here at KC Sports Network. Everything that you need to know about KC Sports. Come in. You can chirp any school. You can talk positive about Mizzou. Do whatever you want. 913-407-6524. I'm not going to hold Maggie any longer because she's been staring at palm trees and the ocean for the last 47 minutes now. That's going to do it for this week's edition of Mizzou That's Who. I'm Tucker Franklin. As always, Maggie Johnson here with me. So for us, we will talk to you guys next week after a Missouri Tigers win.